this. Okay, here we go. So this is our first time trying a Facebook Live. So let's try this out. And who else to do this with but with the master, David Hall. All right. So welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be doing this episode today of how clutter clearing can help us with our mental and emotional health. Are you a mess or a success? So hello, crazy transformers, and welcome to Level of Crazy YouTube channel, where we dive deep into all topics EI, EQ, healing the divide within ourselves and with each other, transforming that reactive crazy into proactive crazy, optimizing that emotional intelligence. I am your host, Ala Esther Levy, emotional intelligence specialist, minister of spiritual healing, and undercover comedian. And our guest today on Zoom is David Hall. Originally from New York metropolitan area, David has called South Florida his home for over 24 years. And over his career, David has worked in sales, marketing, business development, and the nonprofit fundraising sector. David is involved in civil programs like feeding the homeless, working with children, and supporting our senior population. Back in 1983 in Berkeley, California, David set a Guinness Book World Record for endorsing whistling. So you might say he whistles while he works. Currently, David serves on the nonprofit Brain Bowl Committee for the Alzheimer's and Dementia Research, hosting over 1,000 people for an annual fundraiser luncheon. And you can look that up on brainbowlsevent.com. David is president of Lake Worth Interfaith Network, whose mission is to celebrate religious diversity while embracing the golden rule. David also co-chairs the 16th annual All People's Day Diversity Festival, a full, free of charge food, entertainment, and educational event held in Delray Pompery Park. In 2017, just 7 years ago, David founded A+ Clutter Clearing Services. His motto is clear the clutter, clear the mind. Totally agree. He recognizes that our unorganized stuff negatively affects our minds. He sees that the TMS, too much stuff, indeed negatively affects us and can be transformed with repeated sessions of letting go. A+ Clutter Clearing provides both a physical and a psychological benefit. He specializes in movement management for seniors. David writes his monthly column, From Clutter to Clarity, for the Happy Herald newspaper. He consults with and for seniors who are downsizing or right-sizing to adult communities. He loves being of service, being humorous, entertaining, and clearing clutter. Go figure. And before we get into this amazing conversation with David, I want to remind everybody about our sponsors, Florida Balance Centers, where we help those suffering with vertigo, dizziness, balance, and pain management issues. Hey guys, I've had vertigo, so I know the struggle. And I've also had plenty of other issues as well, going through premenopause and being just human, right? You understand the struggle. So stop suffering. Call us today at 954-987-7077. Now let's get into our episode, EQ to the rescue. So, that was a mouthful, right?
I could go on forever, but it was you actually. So you could go on forever. Good to be here, Esther. I'm so excited to be on your program.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that we are all set here on Facebook. Just give me a quick moment just to make sure the live went through. Okay, here we go. So yeah, David, so I'm so excited that you're here. I was going to have you whistle while we work, but we found out that whistling through Zoom does not work so well. So we will attach a video of you whistling. You said, where is that video?
On YouTube, just pull up Harpo, 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 the Happy Whistler, and you'll
Okay,
see me whistling.
awesome. Awesome. Okay, we will definitely, I'll put that into the notes and we'll make sure that people that are into whistling will find you. So tell me, we go way back. We have a history of being, friends for a while, and we go to temple.org, which is an amazing organization on its own. And so, but today we're going to talk a lot about clutter and how that could really affect our emotional and mental health. So let's start by you telling me, how do you recognize and manage your level of crazy for yourself and for others when you are dealing with clutter clearing?
Well, that's a great question, Esther. Way to start off the show. So my level of crazy is definitely off the charts. I'm a little bit crazier in my EQ, IQ, and elemental PQ. And that's simply good luck of the draw, a God-given gift and talent to just look at the brighter, lighter side of things. And what I realized several years ago is, holy cow, I'm pretty good at space organization and using my abilities to see a person's home as it is and to also see it as it may turn into. So I'm in the transformational service business where when people have TMS, too much stuff, they call me. And I get Clutter 911 calls all the time for people that are upset with themselves or their environment. Or it's a family member that's upset with how mom's been living on her own, and we need to do something about it. The beauty of the business that I have founded just 7 years ago is that there's clutter in people's homes and offices and storage units and cars and purses. There's clutter everywhere. When we have clutter, we're distracted, and that distraction keeps us from being our ultimate free selves. You know, when people are told that they have too much baggage, it's literal and figurative. So when you have TMS, too much stuff, it impacts our psyche. And so I come in as a service organizer to clear the clutter, to help clear the mind. And the experience for the client is first fear, like they're being exposed or judged of, look at this house, it's a mess, everything's everywhere, nothing's in its place. And so I like to assuage doubt. I like to let the client know right off the bat that I'm not here to judge, but I really am here to observe, to take a look at different scenarios in a kitchen, in a pantry, in a bedroom, in a garage, just about anywhere in a home or office where things accumulate. And, you know, to understand clutter, it's really a collection of things that's just gotten a little bit out of control. So otherwise, it's just called a collection. People collect miniature cars, people collect dolls, people collect stamps, coins, you name it, and we collect it. When there's no room for it, or the stamps are jumping out of a box and there's just no way to put a cap on it or control the environment, then I'm brought in to see if I can rearrange, organize, sort, and adjust the energy in the space so that the client feels a sense of control, no more embarrassment, and clarity of thought, clarity of focus, clarity of intention. So it really does involve the EQ on many levels. That's my short answer.
Okay. So would you say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong about this,
You're wrong.
would you say that it was your own crazy that got you into this work? You know, that you maybe had a lot of clutter, or you knew the power of clutter clearing for your own crazy, and so you thought, you know what, let me manage my own, and then I can help other people with theirs. Would you say that that's kind of how it happened?
Not exactly. It happens, I think, in stages and steps. Just like it takes a while for people to collect clutter, it takes a little time for people to organize that clutter. And for me, my training was at my sister's home on Long Island in New York, where she's a school teacher. ESL, English as a Second Language school teacher. And every time she invited me over, she said, could you just take a look at our garage and see if there's anything you can do? And so that was my training ground of clearing the garage and the attic at my sister's home for many years and many sessions over and over again. I brought that also to South Florida, where I had two specific girlfriends that had too many clothes. And they didn't have enough drawers or cabinets or storage space. So everything was always coming out of the drawers and it looked like clutter. And they were like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm helpless. Do I get rid of stuff? Do I fold differently? Should I get hangers? Should I invest in that? Or should I just stop buying stuff until I can figure out what I'm doing with my current selection of, oh my gosh, so much stuff. And so it was over a course of many sessions of volunteering and doing what you love to where I honed my skill both in practice in the field, doing clutter clearing as a gift, reading up on clutter clearing. Marie Kondo certainly helped out the whole sector with her book, Tidying Up, and her TV show on Netflix, super hit. You know, Esther, when I first started this business, people really didn't get, what is this? Clutter clearing, clutter cleaning, or do you work on gutters? What are you doing? And then Marie Kondo's Netflix show was such a supersonic hit that it instantly overnight let people know that I'm in the business of what Marie Kondo's doing, only I'm in a male version, and instead of being in Japan, I'm in South Florida. But it instantly gave recognition to a sector that people just thought there's no way out. I'll just get somebody to clean up or throw away my things. But in the meantime, I'll live with a pile of laundry and old mail and magazines that make me feel glum when I frankly look at these piles that I don't know how to control.
So let's talk about where's the seed level of getting all these things. And to me, I feel that the reason why we buy things, the reason why we have so much stuff is another component of our emotions. It's a way that we maybe feel better, right? When we don't feel good, maybe we go shopping, we buy something because it makes us feel better. Or maybe a loved one has passed and we want to hold on to their stuff, right? Also another way to comfort us. So why do you think that we have so much stuff?
Well, I'm working on my first book, and the working title is TMS, Too Much Stuff. That's the common denominator. I think that our culture reinforces the idea that the more you have, the better you'll feel. So eat your beans at every meal. No, that's not right. You know, go to Publix and it's buy one, get one. Go to Costco and instead of getting Cheerios in the 64-ounce pack, you get Cheerios in the 5-gallon drum. And you're like, oh boy, I saved 38 cents. And now I have Cheerios for me, my neighborhood, and everybody that visits for the next year. So our culture invites us to over consume, both in belly, meaning eating, and in products and services throughout our lives, our homes, and our daily everything. So where does the seed originate from, I think, is kind of a psychological question. So there's two kinds of clients that I'm faced with in terms of categories. One is the retail therapy client, that person who has a lot of disposable income, free time, and not expandable closets, but an expandable bank account that says, I need a new pair of shoes. I need new high heels. I need a new purse. Oh, there's a sweater. Oh boy, let's go shopping. And then they contact me and say, there's no room in my closet, as if they're a victim of their own circumstances of retail therapy. So that's one client. The opposite side of the spectrum is an artist. Imagine an artist that is a sculptor or a painter or just involved in many areas of art. An artist sees value in everything, in a pen, in a pencil, in a stapler, in paper clips. I have a client that collects caps from bottles in different colors and different sizes. What are you going to do with this, I asked. I don't know, but when that project comes along, I'll be ready with my supply of different colored caps. And again, it's not about judgment and making fun, even though it seems a little bit like, what is going on here? It's more about
crazy.
It's a matter of observing that this is what makes the person feel whole. So my goal is to continue to have that person feel whole and complete, satisfied and gratified, and with less stuff, or with things put into place so that there's organization. Bins come into fashion, organization shelves come into style, and God forbid that people use a storage unit. You know what a storage unit is, Esther? It's a box where you put your boxes, and you pay money in a gigantic building that's a box where you have a storage area that you're paying $150 to $500 a month, and sometimes more, where you're storing things because you haven't made a final decision upon what to do with all this stuff. Now, in fairness, people do inherit. People inherit old furniture. People inherit old artwork, things that don't match your new modern minimalist house. So what's your choice? Get rid of it? Yes. Donate it? Yes. Or store it in a storage locker. But if you're going to store something, I like to put a time limit on it. If it's 3 months and that's reasonable, then in 90 days, an alarm goes off and you decide, I'm getting rid of this stuff. I wasn't able to donate it, put it on consignment, or use it in my home, or give it away to my kids. So, setting a time parameter helps you control the chaos that you're experiencing. So that's my little 5 seconds on storage locks.
Yeah, that's a great EQ tool. And actually, I use that as a tool as well. I go through my closet once a year, and if I don't wear something for a year, that's it. It's over. I'll try it one more time. And if I really feel like, okay, look, you didn't wear it for the whole year, maybe I'll wear it that one day and see if I still love it. And then that's the end of that. And the truth is that there are so many places where we can donate these things. And I like to remember the saying, someone else's trash is someone else's treasure. And,
Yes.
it's amazing because we have a Salvation Army / Goodwill, down the street. And we've taken a lot of stuff over there. And I feel so good being able to give it to them and let someone use it, even if though I do think some of these places are selling stuff and it's become another industry, but that's fine, whatever. As long as someone's using it, we're recycling the item and it has some use, because it's sitting in my closet creating clutter, and clutter is energy, right? We know it's energy. So it's clogged energy. It's like creating more blocks, and it doesn't allow the flow of energy, the sustenance, the abundance, the healing, whatever it is kind of energy that we're trying to attract. We're delaying it because we have all these blocks, aka clutter, right, sitting in our closets and in our homes. And we're stopping our own progression of life. So definitely
Yep.
some really great EQ tools there.
Yeah, absolutely
So
right.
yeah, so the next question is, so many people are moving around due to the economy these days, right? And what can you suggest they do with all their stuff if they are moving from one place to another? What do you think?
Well, great question. The idea of moving brings up a lot of energy and psychological EQ wondering. Why am I moving? Where am I moving? Am I in a distressed move, or am I moving because the kids are now out of the house and my partner and I just want to downsize or right size into something more manageable? Every time a person moves, they have to face the clutter because everything gets to be packed up. So if I have a client that's lived in one house for 45 years, guess what? They have more stuff over accumulated for centuries, well, decades anyway. 40 years, you get to accumulate a lot of stuff and not really check yourself on what do I need, what don't I need. On the other hand, when you're geared up for moving, and moving is considered one of the most traumatic things people do in their lives. I believe it's death, taxes, public speaking, and moving as the stressors of the world. So talk about EQ. Moving is a monumental shift in physical energy and psychological emotional energy. And that's where I come in, and A+ is very helpful for those seniors, especially that are in a change of life. Imagine you're married 65 years, you just lost your spouse. Oh my gosh. So your energy internally is upheaved. Your sense of where am I in the world without this partner I've been hinged to for 65 years probably worked the books, probably did everything like the, decision making. And now the living spouse is subject to making all sorts of decisions that he or she may never have made before. So I come in as kind of the stepchild, the son that they have, but is out of town or out of state or out of the country. And I come in, and with compassion, we actually go through the entire contents of the home, one item at a time. So there's really no shortcut. It's not like you take a pile of clothes and you say, oh, these are all going to be donated. That's nice. It's really much more systematic than that. Now, if a person has already moved and moved many times, chances are they've made the decision to get rid of things that no longer serve them. If you have a collection of horseshoes, for some reason you think they're lucky, or you had a lot of horses with no legs, so you have all these shoes left over. They're heavy, they're rusty, and you might decide after how many moves that I'm not going to move 3 boxes of heavy horseshoes, and you might just lower it down to a reasonable quantity of, instead of 50 horseshoes, maybe have 5. And maybe those 5 are just as lucky as the 50 that you're getting rid of. So this is the kind of decision making I help people make: rational, clear choices. And some people are resistant to change and choice, and others are more willing to let go. So the 2 main equations that I have to decipher with a client is, what's their level of crazy? What's their level of letting go? What can I let go of and it will not hurt me? And what am I resistant to letting go? No, don't get rid of the old baseball cards. I've got to keep them forever. Okay, keep them. Let's take a look at this other area that you don't have as much of a charge on, and let's see if we can minimize that collection. And so it goes. So it's bumping in the night, almost looking at landmines. And if you see something that doesn't feel good or is uncomfortable, guess what? Let's go to another area where it's very easy to get rid of bath towels that you don't even go swimming anymore. Okay, so we get rid of the bath towels. And your point is very well taken. Having donation as a decision really helps the client feel good about, my stuff is not worthless. My stuff has worth for another market, for another person who has less than I have. And so by grabbing that culture and understanding your stuff is going to a good home, people feel more readily available to letting go. So these are, quote, tricks of the trade. They're really more psychological themes that I work with. And every client, even though I'm systematic in how to clear clutter and successful at transforming space, each client is handled as an individual who has certain loves, certain dislikes, phobias, fears, and mushagas, if you understand Italian, different ways of their craziness. And I really don't, in the field, I don't call it crazy because it sort of sounds a little judgmental. I just say you're a very committed collector. I can see that you really love paper napkins. And that's where humor comes in. So I know there's other people that do clutter clearing and organizing and shelving and making a house a home. And I think it's great. The more people that do this, the more people will have clarity and focus in their home environments. But I like to make it a little lighthearted, almost like I say Mary Poppins. She snaps her fingers in the movie Mary Poppins, and all of a sudden the clothes and all the toys go back magically into their toy chest, into the drawers folded. And in a matter of just a 3-hour opening session, you can't believe the results that we get. And it's fun. So people call me back and say, let's do another 3 hours. 3 hours is my arbitrary time, just to say it takes a little bit of time to get to know each other. And then the first hour, you start to crank up in gear. Second hour, you're really moving through things. Third hour, you're continuing on. And as long as people don't get fatigued, I can continue on for 12 hours. But when you go through people's photo albums, or you go through people's record collections, CDs, VHS, etc., it strikes a chord of sentimentality. And that sentimentality can be a feeling of love and warmth, or it can be feeling of emptiness and sorrow, or any combination on the spectrum. So that means we slow down a little bit. Let's take a look at a photo album or two. Generally speaking, clients get what I'm up to in the first 15 minutes, because before that, I said, before Marie Kondo came out, they're like, you're a clutter clearer. What are you going to do? Wash my bathroom floor? And I go, I do everything but wash the bathroom floor. And if that's what's warranted, guess what? I'll do that at the end of our process as well.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's great that you're bringing in the humor, because you're doing something that really is emotionally challenging, and it can bring up so many feelings and emotions, from grief to sadness to happiness to loneliness to confusion to excitement to fear. I mean, it's like bouncing back and forth from one thing to the other. It's like, if we had like an x-ray machine that could see all the emotions flying through that space and the walls could talk, David, I'm sure that there would be some things being said during your sessions. So
Well,
it's pretty intense.
so that's why I keep going back to that. I'm a highly observant person. I can see where the body language shifts. I can see where the temperature in the room shifts. I can see where a client who I just asked to throw away that pencil shavings in the garbage takes 15 minutes to do it, because there's a resistance. It's not the pencil shavings, it's the whole gamut of, I don't know if I can handle this. I'm letting go. Now, just like weight gain, weight loss, a person's personal size can often be considered a security blanket. I am putting on weight because I'm protecting myself. This is kind of a common known psychological effect about weight. I suggest the same thing happens with people's possessions. There's a comfort for many that have a house filled with stuff. Now, everybody loves the word hoarder. Do you work with hoarders? Hoarder this, hoarder that. There's a TV show about hoarders. Hoarding is an extreme version of clutter. It's not your norm. It's not the middle path. It's not the general public. Hoarding, however, is an indication to me of the person is feeling safer with all this stuff around them. So just like bulimia and anorexia, what is seen in the mirror is not exactly the reality. What this client with a hoarded house full of boxes and old papers and animal feces and God knows, stuff, they don't see it as unkempt. They don't see it as out of place because they've reached a psychological level where it's a condition. So I work with psychologists and life coaches and psychiatrists who have clients that have TMS, too much stuff. And so I just have to be very mindful and deliberate and compassionate. So while we can have fun talking about it, and I say I bring humor, there's a time and a place. So when I first meet somebody, it's not about being humorous and saying, my God, I've never seen so much laundry in one room. I might say that if I knew them and they knew my personality, but it puts somebody into a defensive mode and then they're resistant. Thank you, David. Bye. And I don't want that. So, I might say, wow, look at all these fabric choices you have. How do you know what to wear tomorrow? There's a pile of clothes in the middle of your living room floor. That way I'm saying, this isn't so serious. This isn't taxes. This is, let's get your stuff in order. Let's find a drawer that's empty. And the beauty of doing this for now 7+ years, Esther, is I've just about seen everything. And I'm very confident that I can increase productivity of space by a good 20 to 30%, especially in a garage, where there's just space between this and that. And there's a WD-40 canister in one side, and then there's 3 more in another. And oh my gosh, I just came back from Costco with all my toilet paper and paper towels. So by organizing a garage, literally, I've created almost entire shelf unit space where before there wasn't any. So some people have a misguided idea that I should go out and buy bins and storage solutions before David comes by. And I say it's just the opposite. Let me work with what you have. Let's repurpose some things and let's work in a simple area first so we can build on a momentum of success. Any questions?
Yeah. And yeah. So yeah, it's really about what I'm hearing from you, looking deeper, is that it's really about channeling energy. It's really channeling their energy in the right way, because the truth is that's why I write about the two kinds of crazy, is proactive crazy and the reactive crazy. And these are coined phrases by me for a purpose, to describe that the way that I'm using the word crazy is to actually talk about people that are in the mainstream. It's people like you, it's people like me, people that are everyday humans just trying to live life to the fullest. And we might hit some bumps, here and there. And so there's the reactive crazy that we all know, right? The feeling sad, the depressed, angry, fearful, frustrated, whatever, anything that really disrupts our internal compass, our internal balance. And then there's the proactive crazy, which is the person who's really like, you could be considered proactive crazy about your love for clutter clearing, right? I'm crazy about EQ. So there's a positive to being crazy if that's how you see it, is the proactive crazy, right? And the reactive crazy. So I think, I give you permission to use my phrase, David.
Thank
So
you.
when you go to someone's house, you could say, wow, what a proactive crazy laundry room you have going on here. Or something like that, right? I'm working on my corny jokes these days, so there you go, my undercover comedian. But yeah, I really think that it's about channeling people's energy, and maybe they just don't realize that it got out of control because maybe they do love these specific things. They just don't know how to channel the energy. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to do it. And you come in as this like amazing coach slash, partner almost, and just really take them down this road that's like, okay, let's just restructure this, reorganize it. It's going to be okay. And it just feels like, wow, it sounds like a really fun afternoon or whatever kind of session you do, but it just sounds like a good time.
Yes.
So let's talk about what is the best way to avoid clutter in the home or workspace. And the other thing I was going to ask you is, it's kind of a tied question, is I see things as this: we are who we are, period. So we are how we are in every environment where we go, because we take ourselves with us. So if we are, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, if we are a bit of a clutterer in the home, are we most likely a clutterer at the office?
Okay, great. First, let me say there's basically two things that create clutter in our lives. And you might think the answer is having so much paper or not getting to the laundry, but it really comes down to two actual circumstances. The first is procrastination. I'll put off what I can do today and I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get to it, but I'm first going to have a bowl of ice cream. Or, oh, the phone rang, I got distracted, I'll get to it later. And we procrastinate. So things pile up. The other key component is indecision. When we choose to make decisions, things happen. When we choose or feel that we don't have a choice and we're indecisive, we don't get anything done and piles begin to appear. So when we approach and consider levels of procrastination and levels of indecision, we can then move forward to correcting that to an area of pro EQ, getting people off the couch, away from the TV remote, and now let's take a walk in the laundry room. Now, I use laundry as an example, but there's plenty of clutter collectors who don't have a mindset yet of what to do every day the mail comes or a newspaper. Now, these are kind of almost old-fashioned things nowadays. What's a newspaper? Do we really have people that have newspaper subscriptions and that do crosswords and get it delivered to the door? Or is that old-fashioned? A lot of people still get, especially in our senior community, newspapers. Magazines, they come once a month, whether it's National Geographic or Martha Stewart Home. And because there's very interesting articles in there, the magazine stays on the coffee table. And then next month it stays on the coffee table again. And the third month it stays on the coffee table again, never having had a chance to read those interesting articles. Same with recipes in a kitchen. I cannot tell you how many beautiful $1 million kitchens I've worked in, only to open up a cabinet and see an array of famed historic recipes from mom, grandma, and Aunt Louise because Thanksgiving's once a year and I need to know how to make mashed potatoes. Again, in modern society, you can Google mashed potatoes grandma style and get 4,500 different recipes in a nanosecond. But again, working with a more senior population more often than not because they've collected more over their lives and need more help sorting and decluttering. So we go through the recipes and we say, you know what? When's the last time you made this meatloaf with jelly, mint jelly center? I never made it and I don't even know what it is. Get rid of it. And before you know it, the client is now getting trained to throw things away, faster, faster, throw things away. Old business cards. I know I have them. I have to go through my business cards because some people are no longer in the industry. They've moved, the phone number has changed, or the company's been sold. So business cards have a value because there's data, communication, information on them. But over time, people move on. So it's an ongoing project to keep the clutter from gathering steam. For some, it might be a tug of war. Do I get rid of that magazine? Do I compromise not reading that interesting article? The answer is if you want to have a clean house because you're either moving or somebody's moving in or you're showing your home or having a big party, whatever the motivation is, it's very important because that will help decide what am I going to keep, what am I going to discard, what am I going to donate, and what am I going to learn a new way to store things. But the result is always the same, Esther. When we clear the clutter, we feel in control, focused, less distracted, and we have a sense of harmony and serenity. Rather, you imagine you have your house filled with papers all over the place, nothing's in order, piles everywhere. You step over it, your cat knocks it over, whatever. And now you're forced to pick up that pile, scold the cat. What about this? Dinner's burning it. So things get out of control rather quickly and easily when we're surrounded by TMS, too much stuff. So time and time again, client after client, they recognize their level of gets to be modified with a little help from A+ Clutter Clearing and yours truly, David Hall. And the results are really outstanding. Now, the thing that most people ask is, now that we've gotten rid of the clutter, how do we keep it away? So I have two answers. One is it's going to come back unless you follow a diligent program of making decisions, decide if that mail needs to be kept or look at it and throw it away. Or you may just need to have me back on a monthly basis. So I figured out in this business sector that not everybody can clear their clutter for themselves just because it would be a nice idea. So I come back for monthly maintenance, which usually takes a much shorter period of time, just to keep the client in good stead with their possessions.
Nice. Yeah. So have you had any clients that you have seen them at the office and at their home? Would you say that there is a connection between how they are at home and the office? Have you done someone that's had both?
So an office is kind of a public environment. So people tend to be more conscious and aware of how they look to others. Your home is your sanctuary. I have plenty of clients that don't invite anybody over to their house because it's a blank show, if you know what I mean, starts with the letter S. And in an office, it could also be out of control. I mean, I've seen memes that said Albert Einstein, the famed genius scientist, had the messiest desk of anybody. So genius and mess goes together. So, there's different points of view. And you arguably, you could say, hey, Einstein might have had even more results of genius if his desk was orderly, but who's to say? So in general, in an office, people tend to put things away and hide the paper problem that they have and try to go through the stacks of the inbox, outbox, more regularly, so it doesn't end up being, quite chaotic. So, but I think you're right. There's a carryover. If you're a clutterer at home, chances are your purse, your backpack, and your car are vehicles to convey and distribute and transport that clutter. So if you are OCD and really diligent about every pencil has to be sharpened a certain way. This is not me, by the way, but I understand there is a spectrum of client base and people's personality where everything has to be just so in order for them to feel whole and complete.
Do you know Tom?
I'm going
He's
to look
gonna
at his
get me for
pencil
that
collection
one.
after this call. So I do car clearings, because sometimes that's the place to start, because people are in their car, and if they're coming out of a clean house and going into a car filled with junk and paper and old food containers, it doesn't raise your self-esteem. It kind of lowers it and makes you feel like, what am I, a slob? What am I, in college in the dormitory? Am I in a frat house? What's going on here? And all the services I provide are really designed to elevate the personal dignity and self-satisfaction of the client, to feel like you have control in your world, in your life, over your stuff, rather than being the victim of, I couldn't help it, there was a sale, I just happened to I had to get 6 pairs of boots, even though we don't even wear boots except for 1 day a year in Florida.
Well, now with all the rain, if they're rain boots, you're wearing them all the time pretty much. So, but yeah, I want to say that I definitely I want to give people a tool in terms of EQ tools, with the fact that if you learn to let go, right? Letting go is one of the most important tools we will ever learn to optimize our EQ. And the reason is because when you're able to let go of an item, there's a freedom there, right, David? There's a freedom there. There's an emotional release. There's a learning to detach, learning that life is impermanent. Nothing is ever going to be permanent. The only thing we know that's constant is change. And in order to really have the wisdom to deal with life as it continues to move through, is to practice this process of letting go. And this letting go actually can be in so many layers, right? It can be for clutter clearing, but it could also be for emotional distress when we're having a fight with someone, and learning to let go of those without, letting go of that anger or frustration or judgment or whatever it is. So this practice of letting go and this practice of clutter clearing is so interconnected, and it is so powerful. And I know that for me, that my space, I've always been an orderly person, but I will tell you that when I have too much stuff on my desk or in my room or my closet or whatever, things are not in their place, I go bonkers. And so it's very, very important. And this process of learning to let go has really helped me transform on so many levels. It's, just, I wish that people really could to practice, learn to practice, just kind of like maybe start slowly, just kind of like practice a little bit here and there with stuff or whatever it is. If you hire David, and just like learning the process of just letting go of these little things that we have. But even if you're not working with someone, just to, go through your closet, and just kind of like, okay, what do I think about this? Okay, if we do a timing, like we talked about it earlier, put a timestamp on it, and then just learn to give it away, learn to just move through that process, because you'll be amazed at the gifts that you will create for yourself.
And for some, that's relatively easy in concept and difficult in practice. And for others, it's nearly impossible. Like, I understand what you're saying. I don't know where to start. So I came up with a SMART system. Can I share that with the audience?
Yeah, of course.
So it's the David Hall A+ Clutter Clearing SMART Get Smart system. How to declutter for yourself. S for SMART stands for just what you said. Start simply. Start simply. When you take on the elephant in one bite, you just don't get anywhere. But if you just nibble on an elbow, and I'm using the elephant metaphor, I have not eaten an elephant's elbow per se, but if you start off in just one fingertip, so let's convert that into a home organizing project. So instead of taking on the entire living room, let's just take on one drawer in the kitchen, or one bathroom shelf, or the bedroom nightstand shelf. One shelf, just one time. Let's start simply. That's S. M stands for mindset. This is what we're talking about most of this conversation. Having the right mindset makes the job a little bit more fun and less tedious. So I suggest putting on some good music, music that doesn't put you to sleep, but energizes you. getting a favorite beverage, whether it's a hot tea or a cold coffee or something a little stronger, whatever your fancy, get a nice drink in your hand. And 3, in the mindset, wear comfortable clothing and closed toe shoes. You'd be surprised how many people have me come over to their home and they're barefoot. And while I love the bohemian style, it's kind of dangerous should anything fall on the floor and fall on their foot. That's a bummer. So we want to avoid breaking anything, including bones. So that's M, the mindset. Music, a nice drink, comfortable clothing. And then A, we've got to start somewhere. You can't just sit on the couch watching television and expect things to disappear and get organized. So A stands for action. So the way I work it is I get black trash bags for things to throw away in the garbage, white trash bags simply for donation items. How many times in the beginning when I started this business, we had 16 bags in the living room of stuff. We didn't know which was to donate and which had to get in the garbage. So we kept looking at the bag's content. So just by identification with a white bag, that's donation, of which I actually donate to a cause of the client's choice. So just like you said, there's Salvation Army, there's Goodwill, there's Habitat for Humanity, breast cancer awareness, there's veterans companies that require and need clothes and furnishings. Every week I go to Faith Farms out in Boynton Beach because they help people that were just out of jail get a leg up on starting society over again. So these are nonprofit organizations. There's a tax deduction associated with the gift giving, and just letting go of things that no longer serve you helps other people's lives become better. So knowing that in the back of your mind also is an impetus for letting go. So SMART, S, start simply, M, mindset, A, action. The action is go to a shelf in the kitchen where all the extra little creepy crumbs are and all the little twist ties from bread that you don't use anymore, and take that shelf and actually dump everything out. I like to take that dramatic action because you're forced to now repurpose what goes back into that drawer. So the decision-making isn't, let me take out things painstakingly one at a time. It's take the whole drawer, dump it out completely, clean the drawer out with a washcloth, a rag, or paper towel, and then we deliberately select what's going to be in that drawer. And guess what? It's pretty easy for people to throw away the crumbs, throw away the old recipes that are crumpled up and watermarked so you can't even use them anyway. And so we begin to do self-decluttering automatically. R, what's R and SMART stand for? R stands for reuse, repurpose, and recycle. I remembered in college, we'd go out and we'd party on a Saturday night, and it would be 3 a.m. And then all of a sudden I'd have this idea, as did my bunkmates, let's rearrange the furniture in the middle of the night. That's sort of what I do, but not necessarily at 3 a.m. I can take an end table that just doesn't work in one location, put it somewhere else with the client's permission and approval, and they'll go, oh my gosh, that just opened up the room. I don't feel like I have to trip over that. So this is what repurposing looks like, taking something that already exists in the home, putting it in another place, or cleaning it, or painting it, or getting rid of it, but it's being repurposed. Recycling, we've mentioned over and over again. People change clothes size, Esther. You can imagine you go from a size 12 to a size 8 dress size. Well, just in case I gain weight again, I don't want to get rid of all my size 12 clothing. So there's a mindset that says, I'll keep it just in case, which is another chapter title in my book. Just in case a rainy day happens and I blow up again from my size 8 lifestyle to a size 12, thank God I'll have a muumuu to wear on that special occasion. I like to suggest to the client, listen, you made it to a size 8. I'll give you a size 10 as a backup, but the size 12 stuff is out of fashion, looks like a tent, and you deserve to get some new clothes. So by getting rid of and letting go of things that don't serve you, you're making space and room for a new wardrobe. Well, that gets people to get rid of stuff very, very quickly. So that's R, repurpose, reuse, recycle. And T is the result of the SMART technique. It's transformation, the letting go, the donation, the cleaning the closet once and for all, getting rid of all the dust bunnies, you feel better. You feel in control. You feel like this is no longer a distraction keeping you from your ultimate goal of taking over the world in whatever form you see. So that transformation is the guarantee that clutter clearing really does have a value. So that's my SMART system in a nutshell.
That's
What do you think?
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
pretty
One
smart.
of the things, say again?
It's pretty smart.
Yeah, very smart. There's actually in the coaching world, there's also SMART goals there too. So SMART is a very good acronym for so many powerful things in the world of transformation. So that's great. One of the
Beautiful.
things I just wanted to touch on is when you said, I just want to keep that old dress, I just want to keep that size 10 now that I'm a size, let's just say 5, right? The amazing thing is that, like you said, yeah, you just became a size 5. And what came to me is you are no longer that same person that you were when you were a size 10 in terms of mental acuity, EQ. You are completely different now. You are a transformed person, and that dress is no longer who you are. So get rid of it. Give it to someone who is in that same frequency, because you have moved on. And so, yeah, it's
Very
very
true.
powerful. So just to wrap it up, because this conversation has definitely been amazing, David, and there's so much more that we could probably talk about. So we could definitely, in the future do a part 2. But, tell us just from a personal perspective, what do you do for fun when you're not clutter clearing? What do you do for fun?
What's really kind of funny is that Anne, my beloved Anne Goldberg, she does clutter clearing as well. And sometimes on a weekend, we find that our schedule shifted, something canceled out, and we'll say to each other, come on, let's take on the pantry. And we actually do clutter clearing for ourselves because we get so much joy out of the result. It's a little bit weird. And that's not the only thing. I don't want to sound like I'm like a black and white person, but I love to do service for nonprofits. In my bio that you read, I'm on the board of a number of different nonprofits. I think that we are our brothers and sisters keepers. I believe that the world is filled with everyone that deserves value, recognition, to be heard and seen and validated. And so that helps with dealing with the homeless crisis. That helps in dealing with interfaith, so that religions aren't killing each other in the name of God, which has been going on for eons. And now more than ever, we really need to get involved in our community and in our services, that it's not just coming to us, it's a matter of us giving back to society. I love trees and planting trees. I love litter cleanup, and I've in the past had, there's signs in South Florida that say this roadway sponsored by. So I've sponsored cleanups of roadside litter, and I love playing ultimate frisbee, though my lungs are not the same as they were when I was 20 years old, so I can't run around like a crazy person too much. But love going to the beach, playing frisbee, boating, and anything with nature. And I must say that I do appreciate photography and flower photography on a macro level, getting inside that little orchid where the seed started or whatever. It's just a miracle to me. So I really enjoy that. And then when time allows, I can play around a golf and go scuba diving. Not on the same day. That usually does not work. But these are a few of my favorite things.
And then get some clutter cleaning in while you're at it, right?
You know what? I've got the cleanest golf balls imaginable.
I find it fascinating that you really know when someone is doing their passion, because they do it on their day off, and when they're not getting paid, and when they're just doing it just for fun and relaxation. So you know that you are in the right business. So
It's very,
I love
it's
to
very
say,
funny. It's very funny when we look at each other and we go, what are we crazy? We could do anything under the sun, and we're cleaning out this closet. And we do it pretty quickly because we're both doing it. We're efficient. And so doing the maintenance, for the audience listening and watching, the maintenance is the fun part, because it takes just a few minutes to straighten hangers out. or to get the laundry folded, or to get the mail reviewed, looked at, and tossed out. It's only when you've got 16 years of piles of mail and piles of clothes and old cans in the pantry that have expired. It's only when you let things go that it becomes more heavy, more burdensome. But if you do a maintenance plan every month, every time you go shopping, you get rid of one thing. So instead of BOGO, buy one, get one, I came up with BOTO, BOTO. Buy one, toss one. Now you're neutral. You're not gaining stuff. You're not losing stuff. And if you get rid of two things and you buy one, well, then you are actually decluttering and clearing house.
So there you go. There you go, folks. There's another tool for you. So any last minute thoughts, David, before we go to our closing here?
I think that everything comes down to self-love. Not to get too ephemeral or, wah-wah woo-woo. When we are accepting, when we can accept our fate, our where we're at, our circumstances and our environment, where we are in life, when we can accept that, the more we can accept it, I believe the more peaceful and more generous we are in our hearts and our minds. When we're frustrated or keeping up with the Joneses, or this doesn't work, that doesn't work, I wish I was like them, jealousy and wanting of things outside of ourselves, I think that's when we get off the rails and out of focus. Whether it's going to TAO temple together and just getting a sense of meditative calm, whether it's throwing a rock in the ocean just to get the yayas out. I believe that if we come back to our self-love, that's our true essence, and then we can accomplish the greatest amount of anything and everything for the planet, for the people, for the plants and animals, and again, for ourselves. That's my message today.
Very well said. I ditto that sentiment 1,000,000,000%. So with that, let's do our quote. If you know it, please say it with me. And just a reminder, everyone, per request, please support our work. There's a donation link below. So if you feel moved and you want to support us, please do. And till next time, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, David, for being with us. And let's do our quote here. So when you know and understand yourself, the world will know and understand you too. And remember, what's the best that can happen? And now let's get crazy. So thank you again, David, for being with us. And I think we've decided that we are not a mess. We're actually a success.
Yes, we are.
All right, everyone.
Bye for now. See you again on volume 2.